You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, so I'm excited to continue with our series on covert and passive aggression. And for those of you that are new, I'm taking my information from a really helpful, wonderful book I highly recommend. It's called In Sheep's Clothing by Dr. Simon. And we are talking about the ways that the ones we love who are suffering from addiction can be manipulative and aggressive. And this is not at all to place blame or convince you to leave your relationship. This is about informing you about the tricks that addiction tries to play on you. I think most of us believe that we are in a relationship with a really good person and they have so much potential, right? That's why you fell in love with them, because you are a smart person and you don't just fall in love with someone who has zero potential. You want to believe the best in them, right? You want to believe that if you loved them enough and they loved themselves enough, that they would change and they could finally live at 100% of the person that you believe they were created to be. And so let's assume that all of us know that. On the other hand, there is a dark side to this disease, and it can bring out the worst in people, right? One of the ways that it can bring out the worst is by anger. Give them getting angry with us specifically, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I know the word anger is a trigger word. I know that it makes us feel uncomfortable, particularly as women, because we like to walk around with smiles on our faces and pretending that everything's okay. We like to pretend that we don't get angry and that we're just chill or we're cool or we're too kind to even associate with the word anger. But you guys, you know me, and you know I love talking about real stuff. I don't know any other way to do it other than to be real. So let's all risk being vulnerable today. Let's really risk being real with ourselves and say, heck yeah, anger is something that is a feeling that often comes up with us because we get angry when we are lied to. We get angry when we're told they're going to get sober for good and then they change their mind and make a different choice. We get angry when we're busting our butts around the house trying to make everybody and everything work and happy, and they are passed out or drinking again, or even worse, not even home. We are angry when we fulfill our promises and obligations to this relationship, and no matter what we do to help, it doesn't work. So it's okay to feel anger. If you're struggling with guilt that you shouldn't feel angry, don't. Stop. Release yourself from the guilt. Anger is very, very much a part of this journey. And if you're religious, I've said this before, even Jesus gets angry. So let's not even compare ourselves to fictional women out there who claim that anger is not something they struggle with anymore. Anger is a part of life, and it's normal. Here's what we need to do, though. We need to accept that anger is normal and okay to feel. And we also need to accept that we have a responsibility to learn how to process our anger in a healthy way. That blowing up and melting down occasionally is fine and normal. I don't know any woman who doesn't. But for the most part, it's in our best interest to really understand appreciate our anger and know how to handle it in a mature way. And Lord knows when we're dealing with addiction, anger is very, very present in our lives. So this is good. I know you guys think it's nuts that I'm saying this, but this is one of the ways that addiction can be the best things that ever happened to you, because it's going to teach you how to deal with your anger, so that if you choose to leave your relationship and you get angry again, you're going to take the tools that you're dealing with now and learning and mastering, and you're going to apply it later on in your life. And if you choose to stay, it's going to teach you how to process anger in a healthy way to get quickly back to that place of happiness and healthiness and peace. So, feeling anger is not something you want to run away from. Don't turn this off and think, I'll just listen to another episode of this. I'm going to challenge you to listen all the way to the end, even if it triggers you just a little. You got this. I'm right here with you, and there's no judgment. I promise you, everything that I say is because I've gone through it. So there's zero judgment from all of us, okay? But today we're not just going to talk about, or we're not going to talk about actually at all the ways that you need to process anger, because I have other podcasts about that. We're going to talk about anger from them when they get angry, okay? And anger and charm are two indicators of manipulation. So they may try to distract their way out of a conversation with you with flattery or humor. And when I say they, I mean your loved ones that are suffering from addiction. So let's say you're standing in the kitchen and you're having a conversation that makes them feel uncomfortable. You're calling them out for a lie or a bad choice. They might distract you with flattery or humor. But if they start to feel pressure from you, if you kind of don't let up or you don't fall for that, for something that they've done, they might immediately turn to anger. Sometimes some of our kids do this too, right? Remember, anger is an involuntary emotional response. So you may suddenly see it switch on and off without good reason, especially after a previous tactic failed. For example, if you're calling them on their crap and they are trying to lie or they're playing dumb and it doesn't work, they may very quickly switch to anger. And if this happens like that, typically it's not a sincere feeling. They're not sincerely feeling angry. It's a gambit. They're trying to intimidate you. They're trying to put you on the defensive. So if they're not walking into the house angry or pissed off, then any kind of anger or aggression in the middle of a conversation with you is a form of covert aggression. It's a form of manipulation. They're trying to get you to be submissive. It's a way to get you to be quiet, to scare you, or to cause you to feel intimidated. It's a way to keep you small. And here's the other thing. Covert aggressives don't mind seeing people suffer. Now, I know that is so hard to listen to because, like I said, we are loving women. We are good people. We are healthy. We hate seeing people suffer. We do anything we can to try and help people out, to prevent suffering. And that is a good thing, right? That's what changes the world. That's what loving everybody looks like. But these covert aggressives, they don't mind seeing people suffer. Now, you guys listen, I know I say this all the time, but I really mean it. None of this is your fault. Nothing. None of the misery, none of the unhappiness, none of the anger, none of the dysfunction. You are an incredibly functional, beautiful woman. And if you are married or in a relationship to a sober, mature person, your relationship would look so different. Now, does it mean that your relationship wouldn't have struggles and battles like every other relationship on this earth? No. Of course it would have those types of struggles and battles. But the difference is you would be working with someone who takes accountability and responsibility. But the difference is you would be working with somebody who takes accountability and responsibility and wants to cooperate in the marriage, who has the same goals as you, which is trying to stick together and improve. But you're not working with that. You're working with the opposite of that right now. You're working with denial, and you're working with blame, and you're working with being placated. So this whole situation, none of it is your fault. And you will get through this. And you want to know why? Because you're learning. You're practicing the tools. You're trying new things. You're being courageous enough to give yourself a voice. And you're willing to disengage from the trauma. You're willing to detach from addiction. You're willing to gain your independence as a woman and say, you know what? My happiness does not depend on their sobriety. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get healthy. I'm putting my recovery in as a priority. And you can choose to get better or not, but I'm going to start to feel better with or without you. That's power. That's powerful. And that is going to carry you so far. This is a period of your life that you will get through. And you are not doing this alone because I am right here with you. You can do this. I love you, and I will talk to you later.
If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or on our website at loveoveraddiction.com/podcast. And this week we are highlighting some stories from our Love Over Addiction program. You can go to loveoveraddiction.com/stories to read some of our sister stories today. And lastly, we have a free guide sheet this month all about boundaries. And we talk a lot about boundaries, but for this month, we're focusing specifically on when and how to revisit your boundaries and make sure they're still serving you. Head over to loveoveraddiction.com/July to get your free guide sheet today. All right, we'll talk to you next week. This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, all bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.